Hello, it's me again, Diana. Today I'm going to talk to you about some bobbins, needles, bobbin thread, regular thread, and some sewer's aid. We have 4 different bobbins that we can use on our machines. First one I want to talk about is the metal bobbin. We all got some of these when we got our machine, and you use it with a bobbin thread that we buy, and you fill it on your machine, which is good. It's real good if you remember to wind them. The second is a lot of you use the little paper-sided bobbins, which are also a very good bobbin. Sometimes they tend to, when they get kind of empty and they're in there, it will kind of, sometimes the thread will come around and kind of tear it or something. Then you have a problem with the thread coming around and catching that, and it'll just keep going around and around and causes all kinds of problems. Then we have the clear-sided bobbin. It's just as good as the other ones. I know a lot of people try to refill these. It's a good thing not to do that, because when you refill them yourself, it will tend to kind of spread this apart, and then it's not going to fit into your bobbin casing properly. If you noticed, our bobbin casings came with a little spring that's in there. Please do not remove that spring. That is what's in there to help control your tension on your bobbin. There's 2 different types of bobbins. The ones that came with our machine has just the little hook and loop. Then there's one that's called a pigtail, and it's called that because it's just the little squirrely Q end. And you use it just the same. This will work in our machine. I use this one in my machine. And the proper way to make sure that it's in there, the thread is in there properly, is putting it in from, I know you all know this, but now when I want to try to do this and show you, I'm having problems finding the end. There we go. The thread always comes off the bobbin clockwise, and that's the way you want to put it in your bobbin. Pull it through the little slot, down through the tension, and snap it through there, and make sure it's not going to go back through. Then hook it into your little hook. Mine's not wanting to hook. Okay. You can see once you have your bobbin in that you can push it up and down a little bit. That's because of your little spring in there. Once you put it into your machine, and make sure you're getting it in there good and it snaps shut, you put it in your machine and push it until you hear that click. That means it's in there properly. Once it's in there, that little spring helps keep the tension on your bobbin to go in there. If you did not have that little spring in there, your bobbin's just going to wiggle around in your bobbin casing, and it can cause problems. It can cause bird nesting, or it's spinning around, and making all kinds of problems. The tail, make sure it's hanging down and not up over the thread catcher here. If it is, it'll catch and just keep winding around and around. Okay. For the needles, the ones that came with the machine are called Oregon needles. This is the best ones to use for it. It's called DBXK5Q1. You can either get it in the 7010 or the 7011. The 11 has a little bit bigger eye, so the thread will go up, go through it a little bit better. These are the needles that are made for this machine, so if you're using a different needle and you're having problems, that could be the reason, is because you're using the wrong needle. You should always put your needle in with the long groove going down. I know some of you have said you're having to turn it around backwards. If you're having to turn it around backwards, then there is something wrong with your timing of your machine, or your needle bars are out of place. This little groove right here, the indents right here, that is where, when it goes down and that bobbin casing comes over, it's going to hook into your thread, and that's what's making it so. So if you're having to put them in backwards, you need to check with your dealer and see if it may be out of time or something. Also, the sewer's aid. This is invaluable to me. I use it a lot. When you start having a lot of thread breaks with a lot of the change in the weather, with your thread setting out and stuff, the best way to store thread is in the freezer. But who has time to put all your thread in your freezer and use it all the time? If you will take the sewer's aid and just do 3 lines down the spool, the spool like this, and through, down 3 places, you will see a significant drop in thread breaks. It coats, what it does is coats the thread, and when it goes through the needle, it doesn't cause all the friction. It's the friction that causes the breaks. Also, if you're getting a lot of breaks, it's not necessarily your needle or your thread. It could be your bobbin. Your bobbin tension may be a little too tight, so when it goes back up to pull the thread up, it's snapping your thread. So not just change out the bobbin. You might try using a different type of bobbin. Some days the machine will only run on this kind of bobbin or this kind of bobbin. That's why I keep several different types. It helps when you don't know what else to do. So this is the little video I have. Oh, one other thing. If you're having your bobbin pulling up to the top of your applique and stuff, it could say that your tension either on your top or on your bobbin thread is off. Or the main culprit generally is there is fuzz and thread stuck under your little tension bar of your bobbin. So just take a needle and run it underneath there, and you can there may be a piece of thread in there, a little bit of fuzz, but just run it back and forth in there and clean it out. Not only keeping it clean will help it from doing that, keep cleaning it inside and out, and then always make sure when you change your bobbin that you'll put a drop of oil on the inside of your racetrack on your bobbin casing. Okay, I hope this helps a little bit, and if there's any more questions you have about bobbins or thread or anything, just send me a message. Thanks a lot.